Hello everyone and welcome to the new performance review on my decade-old machine. And today we're gonna test a new game called Need for Speed Unbound. So before even starting and talking about the game, I would just like to go ahead and give you guys a quick review of my rig. So, like I always say, like my PC isn't that gaming based or something like that. It's a very decade-old CPU. It's actually, in fact, a second generation i7, which was released back in 2011. And guys, just don't take this as like a very weak CPU. It's pretty beastie and hefty CPU. Like even after 10 years of its release, this CPU can perform pretty decent in most of the new games. It can like display in 1080p. Any game released before the PlayStation 5 era, this CPU can handle those games pretty well because I think the PS4 itself had a very decent CPU, and any game developers wouldn't want their games to be required the heavy kind of like a hardware which might not run on most of the CPUs the consumers has out there, right? So that was my CPU, the second gen i7. And moving forward to the GPU, this is also very old GTX GeForce GPU. This is not a RTX version, so there is no features like ray tracing or DLSS. Like none of those features are supported by this GPU. But again, this is a very mid to high rate GPU for the GTX series. This GPU, this graphic card is not as powerful as GTX 1080, but it can easily, kick like 1060 or 1070 GPU out of the water. I don't know about the 1070 if it were just a regular 1660, but just keep in mind, guys, this is a 1660 Super, and the GPU benchmark for those both CPU are like pretty much neck to neck. So like in some games I've seen 1660 Super outperforming the 1070, and while in like some few other games I've seen like 1070 outperforming 1660. Now that was just like a very quick review of what my like system is. So RAM, I have like 16 gigabyte, which should be like pretty sufficient to play most of the games released to this date. I don't think I have seen any or I have known of any games that really requires memory like larger than 16 GB. Even the recommended settings for most of the modern games isn't beyond 16 GB. So like I've seen some rigs that has like 32 gigabyte of RAM. On paper 32 GB like sounds pretty good, but it's just on paper. Like none of the applications I've seen so far in my life have ever like utilized 32 GB. And again, I'm just talking about the games. There might be some hefty like 3D rendering tools like Maya and like I've heard of the 3D Max. They might require you to have more than 32 GB of memory. So that was all, guys, for my system. And Need for Speed Unbound. This game was released for the PlayStation 5 Series X, and there was no version released for the old gen systems like PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. So like this game would definitely is a like is definitely gonna require you a hefty amount of resources since it's a PlayStation 5 era game. I have to save the time. I already have my game run up here somewhere, so I'm just gonna straight jump to the game so that you guys do not have to see all those loading screens. And I think like I just passed my tutorial. Now again, guys, like I can't like really talk and play a lot, so I just try to give you a short walkthrough on the performance and then talk about the game. But before that, let me just introduce you to this game. So Need for Speed Unbound, this was the successor to the last Need for Speed Heat game, which was actually released for the last gen console, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC as well. But PC, there's no such thing as generation of the PC. PC is PC, right? It's been in the market since like like I don't know, like 60s or 70s, right? So, talking about the game, you're set loose in Lake Shore City, fictionalized Chicago, where you are free to casually drive around, accept challenges, and stop and meet up to race for cash. Think about like a burnout paradise, but with a far fewer crashes. You operate on a day and night cycle that changes every time you enter a hideout. The city itself is somewhat empty, though, like pedestrians, you'll see some 2D shell-shaded pedestrians walking here and there in this game, and the cars line the streets and sidewalks, but they do little to make the city feel alive. So if I just go ahead and like, you know what? Let me just. Why don't I just write my name here so that this car exclusively belongs to me now. Here, Vicky. Okay, so while this game is loading, just little additional. Okay, let me get just away from all these, and then we can just start to talk a little bit more about this game. I don't know what is going on here, but I'm just gonna get to the point. Let's just play. I just don't want to waste the time just customizing the car. And again, while this is happening, let's see. Oh no, this is not loading screen. I just gotta click next. And okay, this is a meetup. This is where you go to racing events and win cash. Okay. It's okay. All right. Okay. So what? Here we go. And exit garage. Okay, now coming back to the performance, like this game is performing very, very well on my system. Even the decade-old GPU, sorry, the CPU, and a couple of years old GPU isn't like really stopping me from playing this game. But like my system is running on its default settings, and which in fact still looks very, very good. Like there's no slowdown or nothing like that. But I forgot to turn on one more thing here. My performance monitoring, which is on the right hand side on the top. And one more thing I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm just gonna turn off the HDR because YouTube wouldn't allow me to upload the HDR. So it's kind of obvious that you guys might be seeing a very, like a highly gamma version of very highly, like high gamma version of the graphic right now. Okay, there we go. The SDR. I'm turning that off. Now it should, like okay. Now the colors should be displaying correctly, right? So yeah, I was talking about performance. So this game is performing very, very well on my system. As you can see, it has it's like averaging around like 60 FPS, which is what we want. We do not want our game to go below 30 FPS. Any game experience below 30 FPS is not enjoyable. That's what I think. Okay, so and being this as a PS5 era generation game, I was expecting this game to have a mandatory ray tracing requirement, which my GTX doesn't support that. Like because the PlayStation 5, Series X, any games being released exclusively to these generations, developers are like really pushing the new features like ray tracing and DLSS features into them. They are injecting those kind of features into their new games. The CPU usage and GPU usage, they are like pretty, normal, I would say, but I did notice like here and there sometimes that the CPU utilization is cranking up all the way to 90%, while the GPU usage is bumping down to like 50%. So that is the result of your CPU bottlenecking your GPU. So the idea behind that is, your CPU drives every hardware on your PC. Your RAM, your your SSD hard drive, your GPU, and everything. So in my case, what it is that I have like a decade-old, a 10 years old CPU trying to drive a 3 or 4 years old GPU, right? So let's say the GPU potential is 100%. Because of my low power CPU, it's unable to fully utilize my GPU's potential to its like 100%, to its fullest. That's why, like sometimes you will see that the GPU usage is only like around like 62% right now because your CPU is unable to drive its full potential. And that is a bad thing, guys. Like because your GPU is one of the very, like expensive thing on your PC, and that's because of the low power CPU not utilizing your GPU's full potential is not fun at all, right? So let's take a stroll around this city, the Chicago, the fictional Chicago, and let me just get up to my next point. And you can just feel, like the speed of this game. Like I really love the anime style. Anyway, like I'm so bad at this game. What was that? Ah, so you're in the event, okay. So yeah, before I start this, a little bit about the Need for Speed Unbound. This game offers a full palette of colors with the NFS Mint box. So racers can enjoy the highway, mountain, bursts of Need for Speed proper, or the wheels swirling runs through the dangerous nightlife of Underground. Remember Need for Speed Underground? Back from 2000s, like early 2000s? That was probably most of your Need for Speed fanboys out there. Like that must be your favorite game of the series, right? So in addition to these activities, all cleanly embedded into the game world, players can also simply rip throughout Lake Circuit itself, ripping through time trails, pulling off record drifts, smashing billboards, or racking up sightseeing tours of every gas station in the world. Yeah, they do have gas stations around which can actually repair your vehicle automatically and fill up your nitrous oxide. So let's keep on going, guys. So I think like this is a street race, and probably we're gonna have some speed feel on this race. And I just love this game way better than Need for Speed Heat. And there's definitely some editing issue with this game. Like you can see the trees like getting low after the frame is complete. That's for load. I'm not that like good at explaining those things, but I just try to know what that is. Okay, let's see how this is gonna be fun. I'm just trying to get used to this, and I just love those anime style. You can see the smokes coming out in anime style, and when their car jumps, you have that the enemy wings popping out on the sides of the car. One thing I noticed, the license plate, guys. Vicky, that license plate has my name in it. That's pretty cool. One thing I like about this game is that this game performs way better than Need for Speed Heat. I had a really hard time running that game on my machine, and it's not because of my hardware. The game itself was so poorly optimized, and I'm pretty surprised like how well this game, which was actually released for the PlayStation 5, is performing way better than the game that was actually developed for PlayStation 4 in mind. Yeah, this game just gives me, a mixed feelings of Need for Speed Underground and Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Did you guys notice how shiny the road was when I was making that turn with the sun right in front of me? I mean, that graphical effect, like, I really love that effect. Okay, I don't know, like, did I finish it first, second, third? Because I think you need to be at least third, 2.5 for here. Oh no, fourth, and look at my picture. A kid, fourth, welcome to Vicky. That's my new address, guys. Let's continue. So, like, just trying to wrap up this game with my thoughts. I would say with this game, Criterion and EA have successfully married the finer points of the series, past to Criterion's own excellence in delivering taunt and exciting racing action. Probably you guys all know about the Burnout series. And further bolstered by the power of ninth generation, which is PlayStation 5, Series X, new technologies afford NFSU, the burst of nitrous that the series has chased for some time, revitalizing a brand that many had thought was ready for the scrapper's yard. Let's see what is wrong. Okay. Since I've been explored, they want me to retry. So Need for Speed Unbound is a highly enjoyable and splendidly polished arcade racer. Criterion has picked. Criterion, the game developer, when I keep on saying Criterion, it's actually the developer who developed this game. So they have picked meticulously through almost 30 years of Need for Speed legacy, stitching together its finest elements to create a brilliant, feature-packed, like a game that offers compelling gameplay, deep design, and dazzling aesthetics. Simply put, Need for Speed Unbound is one of the best entries in the history of the franchise. Yes, it's definitely not the best of the best, but it's one of the best, that what I would say. It's way better than Heat, it's way better than Need for Speed Payback, it's way better than 2015 reboot of Need for Speed. And it's just, like, I would say it's even way better than Need for Speed Rival, which was released back in 2012, I guess, and it was a launch title for the PlayStation 4. And I love that game actually, but this game is slightly better than Need for Speed Rival. Okay, guys, before I wrap up, I'm just gonna give this race one more try. I'm just gonna turn off my performance overlay so that I won't get distracted and I can like fully concentrate on this race. I hope I will finish first or second. I know why I was losing. I need some sound boost. That's what was happening. There we go. Okay, last restart. Come on, baby, come on.
to touch up the paint job.
I've got more for you if you want it. Don't worry, you won't be ahead for long.
Welcome to my hood, yeah. Welcome to my hood. Welcome to my hood, yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Next time I'll bring up with a new game on my same old game, how it will perform, and will that be a real time for me to upgrade it. But for now, I'm happy with my GTX 1660 Super and my i7 2600. Adios, goodbye, namaste, salve.